encourage your soul, enlighten your mind, and empower your faith. This is the Light Network.
Hello and welcome to Wifey Wednesdays, a podcast for women who are seeking to be the best wives they can be. I'm your host, Emily Hatfield, and this is the show where the plan is always to do things God's way, especially our marriages. On today's episode, you get to listen to me sound like this because I have small children, and this time of year, I'm gonna be sick at some point, and that's right now. So welcome, and you're welcome. Today's episode is going to be a little niche in the subject, but hopefully it will be beneficial to those who are in this season of life that we're going to be talking about. So excuse me if you're not, but if you are, I hope that we can encourage you today on your walk with Jesus. If you are an older woman or simply a woman who's out of this phase, send it to a young mom that you want to encourage. And if you are a young mom who was sent this podcast, number one, I don't normally sound like this, sort of, but it's less raspy. And number two, know that you are loved and supported and that somebody out there really wants you to keep going and go to heaven. So today we're going to be talking to young moms. Hi. How tired are you? So tired? Good. Me too. I have two small children. They are not as small as they once were. It does go pretty fast. They are 4 and 7, and I get it. If you are tired, I get it. If you are barely hanging on, I get it. And ladies, I just get it. Being a mom of young children is exhausting. So what I'm going to do right now is go back in time to the early days. And I want to encourage you, if you're in an early day, if you have a child, I don't care how many you have, if any, one number of them are under the age of 1 or are still nursing. I nursed both of mine until they were older than that. No need to go into all the specifics for their, future sanity of people knowing too much about them. But if you are a nursing mom, whatever that means, if you have a child under 1, I'm going back in time to that. Okay, you're tired. You probably don't get a lot of time to yourself, and you are overtouched and overworked and just sensory overloaded. You also have so much cuteness and sweetness and snuggle time and laughs and giggles and coos and maybe even little sounds and words, coming up and movement and rolls and just squishy legs. Like, you got so much going on. If you're in that phase, this part's for you. So much good can be done here. But this is the trenches. This is the hard time. You're not sleeping. And I get that. Even if you have a great sleeper, they require so much in terms of eating all the time. Or pooping themselves all the time. Excuse me. It's just, there's so much. Here's what I want you to do. If you have to be up all night with a small baby, I want you to use that time and spend it with God. I didn't do this my first go round with my oldest. I slept, prayed, cried a lot, but I was more intentional with my second. That during those night feedings, during the, put them down, long feeding before bed, I tried really hard to spend that time in the Word, just reading through it. And I was able to get through the Bible in a year. Now, I'm not saying you have to do that. But what I am saying is I will not forget that time. And not only do I cherish that time that I had with my son, I cherish that time that I had with God. And I look back on it fondly, even though if I were to go back and look at it and add up how much time was spent in that nursery, it would seem significant. And yet, I felt like I was redeeming that time by doing something important and not just mindlessly scrolling. Sometimes you gotta mindlessly scroll. Like, I get it. You've got to do something to just fill your brain with something adulty. But pick something to do to engage your brain for Jesus during those times. And it doesn't have to be at night. It can be just sometime. I found that nap time was so rare and precious of a time that if I counted on that time, people were all the time, I felt like preaching at me like, during your child's nap time, you need to XYZ, do the dishes. That's when you need to sleep. That's when you need to do your Bible study. That's when okay, first of all, don't listen to any of that. During your child's nap time, do whatever it is you need to do. I don't know. It's different every day. Some days I did need a nap. Some days I couldn't nap because I was so stressed out about whatever they were doing. Some days I did need to study my Bible. Other days I was so tired I couldn't even think. And I just needed to stare at the wall. That's okay too. So I'm not here to tell you what you have to do. I'm here to say, I get it. You're not alone. Just keep going. Just keep doing what you're doing. And if you feel overwhelmingly sad, overwhelmingly hopeless, get help. Go to the doctor. It doesn't have to be like that. And it shouldn't be. So do that for yourself. It's okay. Somebody will watch that baby. People love watching babies. Get the help you need. Because just like in an airplane, you are told to apply your own mask and then apply the mask of your child. Well, guess what? I need you to take care of yourself, mama. Need you to take care of yourself so that you can take care of that baby. So if you need help, get it. Whatever you do, find some time to redeem with God, to nourish your own soul, because the mama soul, I tell you, it feeds a lot of people. Does a lot of things, and you're learning that, especially if you're a first-time parent, that it takes so much from you. And what a beautiful gift we've been given to be moms. But it takes so much. And so you need something being put back in. So take some time. And I don't know what that looks like, but take it. It was really hard during that first year when I was the sole source of nutrition, and I was the sole source of anxiety. So I just felt like I had to have the baby all the time, and then never let anybody else have the baby because I was so stressed out. Let there be somebody that you can have a minute where you can go to the doctor, or you can go on a date, or you can do something. Find that person you can trust. Invite them over to be with you, so that you don't have to just, for the first time, send them somewhere else. Let them come to your house, hang out with you, and do things with you. They would love that. So find a person that you can trust and invite them into your life to be a helper to you. They want to be. Sometimes it's just about you breaking down the walls to let them do that. Let them know. Call out for help. Okay. If you need a lifeline, throw it out. People want to help you. So if you're in that small, tiny baby phase, redeem some time, take care of yourself, and trust somebody. Break down a wall for somebody to let them have help. All in all, everybody, whatever phase you're in with small children, just know that productivity can look different for everybody. If you listen to this podcast, we've been doing this for however many years, 10. If you've listened to this podcast for any amount of time, you know that I'm not come to this podcast and let me tell you all the things and ways that you have to do something. There's so many ways and so many things that we can do. Productivity can take so many different forms. So don't let somebody tell you, this is the way to be productive with small children, or this is the way. Here's what we got to do. As mamas, if you have been given the gift of being a mama, Guess what your job is? To be a Jesus-following mama. That's your job. So you now have this tiny little soul that's been entrusted to you, but it's not yours. It's God's. This soul belongs to God. And one day that soul is going to meet God again. The same God who put that soul in the womb, they're going to meet that God. And your job, it's kind of like we talked about last week when we were talking about talents and being a steward and things like that. Okay, well, don't just sit on the child, mama hen, get off the egg. You got to let the child grow. And what they need to be doing is growing in the wisdom and favor of God. That's their job. So our job is to nurture that. And some days, if I'm writing down what I've gotten done, it doesn't look that impressive. Now that I'm homeschooling, some days I'm just like, what did I even do? What did I do today? Did I get anything done that was helpful or beneficial or productive? Or I look around the house and it's a mess. My life feels like a mess, and I'm like, is anything productive? Productivity can look very different for everybody. And if we want to be women who follow Jesus, then just plant seeds in your children. Just plant seeds. I can't make fruit grow in my children. I can't make them be faithful. I can't make them choose God. But what I can do is plant seeds. And some of that looks like saying sorry when I do something wrong, so that they see that I'm not perfect, I'm not the standard, and I'm not getting this right. The other day I had a conversation with my child. She's 7. I had a conversation with her where I said, I want you to know something. I'm learning to be a parent with you. I've never done this before. And so sometimes I'm going to get it wrong, because just like, she's learning to read, and sometimes when she's reading, she gets it wrong and she gets frustrated with that. And I was telling her, you know what? When you're learning something new, you don't always do it right. Welcome to me as a parent. I said, I'm learning. I've never done this before. And just having those conversations with them, giving yourself grace, and then also giving them grace and showing grace, being open about the fact that your standards are not the be-all, end-all of standards, that ultimately it's God's standards. It's very important. So I don't know where that came from productivity. As you can tell, today's episode is called Emily Rambles On About Small Children, but I'm not going to call it that. But you'll know. If you listen to it, you'll know that's the real title. Our job and the most productive thing that we can do is plant seeds in their hearts. And so if at the end of the day you got nothing done on your checklist, but your children saw Jesus in you, productive day. And if at the end of my day, because now I'm talking to myself, if, Emily, at the end of your day, you got all the things done on your list and you did not act like Jesus to your children, unproductive day. Unproductive. Let's be Jesus in our homes. And I think that's why it's so important to start by putting the Word of God in your heart in those early days, because then maybe it's there in these, my toddler won't stop talking to me days. I am completely overwhelmed by the sheer amount of time I am with my children. If you are a homeschool mom, then you get that. You get it, right? Like I am constantly, every moment around my children and responsible for their education. That's overwhelming. But if at the end of the day, if at the end of however many years I'm doing this, 1,000,000 it feels like, if they are dumber than a box of bricks, but they love the Lord and they follow Him, productive. So if you are one of those uptight moms like me, just chill. Just chill. Show them Jesus. And if you are one of those chill moms, maybe have some boundaries. Make sure that you're not being so relaxed that you're not, showing them that God does have boundaries and ways to do things and ways that are right. We can learn from each other. We can befriend one another. One of my dearest friends, mom friends, and we don't even get to talk that often anymore. She is one of my dearest mom friends. And she is such a chill mom. Oh, I love her so much. She's such a chill mom. And I am not that. I'm not chill. People don't look at me and say, Emily's so chill. Nobody feels that way. Least of all me. But here's what I know. We need each other. You know, I needed her chill way of doing things to impart that wisdom into my life in ways where I could see, you know what, I could chill. And other ways to be affirmed, like, I'm glad I didn't. You know, we need each other. Because ultimately, while we're all going to parent differently and do different things, we're all looking toward the same source, and we all have the same end goal in mind for our children. So find mom friends. If they can be different than you in your parenting styles, that's a win, because you're going to help each other and bounce ideas off. But also, if you can find a mom who has kids a little bit older than your kids, she is a gem for you. She's a gem. One, she might have hand-me-downs. So there's a score in and of itself. But also, she's going to have some wisdom. So if you don't want the hand-me-downs, one, you're crazy. But two, she's got the wisdom. So find that person who has kids a little bit older than yours and listen to what they say. They are not the gospel. So take with it and do with it what you want. But find encouragement from other people. Don't feel like you're on the mom island all by yourself. You're not. There are more of us out there. We are all striving to get our kids to heaven. And it's rough. The world is rough. This is a terrible place to be raising children. You know, nobody loves God. It's awful. But I know that that's not actually true. I know there are more of us out there than it seems. And while the way is narrow and few there be who find it, there are those of us out there struggling to be on the path, maybe. But we're there, and we're going, and we're marching toward heaven. And we are striving to plant eternity in our kids' hearts as well. So let's band together. We got this. Keep going. Keep going, mama. You got this. I know you've got this. So keep going. Okay. We got to wrap this up soon, because if you're a mom with small children, you're like, why is she still talking? Okay. Don't neglect your husband. I get it. If you have small children, if they're real small, then you may still be having some side effects from delivering a baby, having had a baby, your body and all the things physically just, there's a lot that goes on there. But when I say don't neglect your husband, I'm not just talking about being intimate. Like, I'm not just talking about that. Now, in a very real sense, don't neglect that. You can't have children and then be like, I'm done with that. That part's over. Don't do that. That's not helpful. That's not biblical. So don't do that. At the same time, talk with your husband. Let him understand some of the things. He likely will. If he's following Jesus, then he's going to want to be understanding of you and all that you're going through too. But don't neglect him in any of the ways that he needs. Emotionally, spiritually. That he has also gone through a big change. And having small children is also difficult for him. You're different. I am so different with small children than I was before children. Even than with tiny children. In some ways for the better. In some ways, I'm not really sure. But I'm trying. I think I shower more now, but that's debatable. I don't know. It there for a while it was real bad. I don't remember the times. But don't neglect your husband. Talk to him. My husband and I recently have gotten into this thing where it's like, I know we can't talk much because we have children that constantly demand our attention. So when we're at home, like, it's very hard for the two of us to have an actual conversation. But we've gotten into some different modes of talking and texting and different pathways that we're able to kind of take that time where we are able to communicate, just the two of us. Find whatever that is. Take some time for just the two of you to get away. Last year, my husband and I went on our first vacation. The two of us. We left our children somewhere else. And our children weren't happy about it. They were okay. They're still okay. We took some time for ourselves, and that was okay. So take some time for yourselves, for you and your husband. Make that a priority, because you do not want to lose that relationship by making your children go ahead of that. It's so easy. It's so easy in marriage to put your children first, but we cannot. We cannot. God is first. God is above all and in all and through all. God is at the top. And because of that, we know that our role first, we chose to be married. And so we fulfill what it means to be a wife. And then, we chose to be a mom. Here we are. Okay. Well, it's hard. It's hard. We've walked through this door and now we're moms. And now it's really hard not to put their needs first, because their needs are a little more demanding and immediate. But we cannot constantly choose the needs of our children over the needs of our husband. We can't. So pray about it. Take time for your husband. It's hard and it's going to look different. So while taking time for your husband, not neglecting your husband, also don't in your mind think that it means it has to look exactly like it did pre-kids. It won't. It won't. Now it may be, watching some weird TV show together after your kids go to sleep. Okay. But just spend time together. Talk to each other. Make time for each other. And don't second guess each other's parenting stuff. Like, I get it. I'm around my kids all day, every day. And he gets to go to work. Oh. And then he comes home and he doesn't do everything exactly the way I would do it. And at first that was real frustrating to me. And then I was like, perhaps humble yourself would really come into play here, because I'm not the be all end all of parenting standards. And he's just as much parent as I am. So, okay. Don't neglect your husband. This is, okay. So I have a mom friend who is older than me. Her kids are much older than my kids, and I'm so thankful for her, because she gave me this great idea a couple of weeks ago. She said when her kids were little, she would have them hug a widow every week at church, because widows rarely get touched and they still need that. And when you have small kids and they're really excited about going and hugging and greeting and whatever, she was like, send them to a widow every Sunday. I loved this idea. I'm trying to implement this idea. But I just wanted to pass that along to you. If you have small children, you're thinking of ways you can implement service in their minds and their hearts, and encourage other people. And you're thinking, how can I help people? And how can I serve people while I'm in this stage? Listen, I had a very wise person who had a very wise podcast, Arrows in Our Hand. Shout out, go listen to those. They're amazing. But the Skeltons told us when we were having kids, they were like, use this season that you're in. It's going to look different, but hey, kids can make cards and bake things and go say hi and strike up conversations. And kids are a great barrier for some people to break down. They just run right through those barriers for people. So use your children. Use your children to encourage other people and show them Jesus. Okay. If you are a homeschooling mom, I just want to say I love you, and I need your encouragement, because I'm on second grade and I'm next year going to start doing 2 of them. So just send me all your encouragement and pictures of your children in college. That would be very helpful. Okay, thanks. If you are a mom with small children, this is my final exhortation to you. God's got you. God's got you. There have been days when I have felt like I have no idea what I'm doing. I feel so unprepared for this. I feel inadequate. I feel like I'm failing more than I'm thriving. And every single day of it, God has been there. God is the perfect parent. And I am not. But in my parenthood, I'm able to look to God and see how He treats His children. I'm able to see how He treats me. Quick to forgive, discipline when necessary, but very gracious and loving and compassionate, not putting on me more than I'm able to bear. Demanding obedience, sure, but also making obedience such a joy and a privilege. Ultimately, we want to point our children to Jesus. So yes, we do need to make sure that we are planting the seeds of respecting God and His Word and His name, respecting worship, actively getting them involved in worship, even from a young age. They can do it. My oldest is a little girl, and she could sit through worship from the time she was teeny tiny. And the second one, he is not that way. One, it's a little boy, and he's just not the same. So I feel you on if you're having trouble getting your kid to sit through worship and honor worship in the way that they should. First of all, be gracious. Understand how little they are and what things are too burdensome for them. But at the same time, my 4-year-old, he can either sit still or be quiet. He can't always do those two things at the same time. But I've decided you can whisper to your little Bible puppets and be still and not be distracting anyone. And that's okay. So just encourage them to honor God, to love God, to respect people, to love people. And honestly, if we're just planting those weightier things in their hearts, then that's all we can do. And they're going to grow up and they're going to make choices. And whatever those choices are, all we can say is, God, I love you more than I love my children. And I am in this life to serve you. And right now, one of the things that I'm stewarding is small people. Help me do that well. Help me to show them you. Because these are people we're getting the opportunity to influence for Jesus. And I hope that we're doing that every day. But at the same time, our faithfulness, well, one day they're going to choose whether or not they're going to be faithful. And it's not going to have anything to do with what we're doing. They've got to make that choice on their own. And nothing we've done is going to weigh into that as far as, getting them closer to God or anything like that. So if they've got to make that choice one day, let's be giving them all of the help we can to make the right choice. Knowing that if they make the wrong choice, that is on them. And we will have done what we can do. That's all we can do. Serve God with our whole heart and trust that He's going to take care of us. I'm so thankful that even though it is hard and exhausting and trying and frustrating, I'm so thankful that I'm a mom. I didn't know what to expect, nor did I even know if I really wanted to do this, because I knew going into it, not my strong suit. The small children phase, this isn't going to be my strong suit, and it hasn't been. But I also see God refining me through this process. I see Him showing me gentleness and grace and love and mercy and just joy and the beautiful things. The other day I was sitting in worship with my 7-year-old and she was singing so loud and with such passion. And obviously, not all of the notes were right. I'm not even sure all the words were right. Definitely all the words were not right with the 4-year-old. But when I heard them singing, the joy that I had, and I thought, how must it be when God hears His children singing and praising? And so I am learning lessons along the line. Every stage I'm learning new lessons about who God is, about how much He loves me. And so let motherhood be that for you. Right now, what lessons can you learn? How good is God? Where do you see Him? Where do you see Him in the quiet moments, in the chaotic moments? Where do you find your time with Him? Because He's there. He's there, Mama. So trust him and lean on him and be encouraged that you're not alone in this. You're not alone. You're not alone in raising your children to love Jesus. We're all trying to do that. And we can do it. We can do it. And if through the most heartbreaking thing I can think of, if they choose not to, we can still trust in the God of all comfort to wipe away every tear from our eyes on that great day that we meet him. This is worth it. It's worth it. You've been given a gift. Steward it and return it back to him. That's our job. You got this. Again, I say, if it feels too overwhelming and sad and awful and you don't want to do it, go see your doctor. They can help. Contact me. I would love to pray for you and with you and talk you through some things about getting the help you might need, because been there. Thank you for listening. I hope you're encouraged. I hope you know that there are many of us who love you and pray for you as you raise your tiny babies. I'm so thankful to have Christian sisters to do this with. All right, that's going to do it for today. I got to go hug my babies now. I hope that you'll be with us next time. Until then, remember, love God, love your little babies, but not more than you love your husband. And most of all, God. Should I just do that whole thing in reverse? Like, should I just be like, until next time, remember, love your children, love your husband, and love God the most. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. Y'all heard it here first. Thank you, everybody.